I bet you didn't know that. I bet a lot of Nigerians do not know that modern slavery exists and is highly functional in Nigeria. Today, I'll be talking about um, modern slavery in the form of labor exploitation in Nigeria. Every worker in Nigeria deserves rest. Everybody deserves rest. And there should always be a balance between work and the time you spend with your personal time and with family. But before I go into the main issue I want to talk about today, let me set some let me make some clarifications here. Now, the international labor law, that is through the International Labor Organization, sets standards for working hours. Now, the aim is to protect workers' health and their well-being. Now, according to the International Labor Organization's Hours Work Convention, number 1 of 1919, established a maximum 48 hours per week and 8 hours per day as a global benchmark. Of course, so in some countries, there's a slight moderation to these work hours, but it's something that is, that creates a good work-life balance. Now, the key aspect of international uh, law on labor is spells out maximum working hours, you know, weekly rest, annual leave, and most importantly, it talks about work-life balance. Now, how do you get work-life balance? It's when you do the maximum number of hours per day or per week, and then you have some days off to rest. Now, to tell you that this thing actually, happens in Nigeria, I'll be using and this labor or this modern slavery in the guise of labor exploitation or under the labor exploitation is carried out by most of the foreign companies that's operational in Nigeria. Today, our focus will be on Mahmuda Beverages in Kano. Now, the company is owned by this guy who is from Lebanon, so he's a Lebanese. Now, from my findings, I found out that people who work for this company work every day, 7 out of 7 days in a week, 12 hours per day. They resume at 7 in the morning and they close at 7 at night. Every day. This is nothing short of modern day slavery. Now, what has accounted for this? Now, before I even go to some of the factors that has accounted for this slavery, this modern day slavery, what I choose to call modern day slavery. This man that owns this company is from Lebanon. Now, let's look at laws, labor laws in Lebanon. Now, according to the Lebanese labor law, it mandates, a maximum of 48 working hours per week. That means an average of, a maximum of around 8 hours per day. That's what it means. And employees in Lebanon are entitled to weekly rest period of at least 36 hours. That means you have close to 2 days to rest, typically on Sundays. But this company operating in Nigeria, in Kano State, has now mandated workers to work every day. This is in contravention of the Nigerian Labour Act. which is based on, the Nigerian Labour Act is based on guidance from international labor organizations, hours of work convention of 1919, which spells out 8 hours of work per day. Now, why is this happening in Nigeria? That's the question we should be asking. Why is this happening in Nigeria? One, they probably, not probably, they're taking advantage of the high level of unemployment in Nigeria to say, okay, if you don't do the job, someone else will do the job. And that is a fact. And two, they're taking advantage of the fact that the LNC and the TUC in Nigeria, they're just there for the sake of it. They're not doing anything. All the NLC does and the TUC is when there's a government policy on increase here, they just shout like British bulldogs, and they call them, probably give them some money, and then they keep quiet. Everybody goes their way. Now, their main mandate, which is about protecting the welfare of Nigerian workers, is totally absent. Otherwise, how can companies like this come to Nigeria, exploit Nigerians, allow Nigerians to work 12 hours a day for 7 days? That means the work-life balance is absent. That is a violation of their right to rest and a violation of the International Labour Organization Convention of 1919. That spells out that the maximum hour should be 8 hours a day, and then workers should have time to rest. But not with Mahmuda Beverages. Now, this company is owned by these people, and Nigerians work there, exploited. Where is the NLC? Where is the Ministry of Labour and Productivity? Not there. All these agencies just exist on the pages of paper. Functionality absolutely zero. Otherwise, Nigerian workers cannot be treated to this, manner of modern slavery. Now, this is not just Mahmuda Beverages, because we're just using them in this case because I have the fact that workers there work this number of hours. They do not even have time for themselves. They work every day in that company. So they're taking advantage of the systemic failure we have in Nigeria, high level of unemployment, no checks, no follow-up, no monitoring, no evaluation, systemic collapse. That's why these people have taken advantage and they allow Nigerian workers to work this much. This is unacceptable. This is unacceptable. We are calling on the NLC to ensure that this thing is curbed immediately. And there are so many of these kind of companies operating in Nigeria. Now, these Lebanese, they cannot do this in their own country because they have a system that works. And then you come here without even a care about human dignity. You just get people to work this number of hours. Where would they even have time to spend the money they are working for? Because somebody works 12 hours a day for 7 days, nothing. It's unacceptable. But of course, these people will get away with this thing because look at the man. He wines and dines with the high and mighty Nigerian society, with the governors, former governors, ministers, all the big people. So they think they can just do these things and get away with it. We need to do something about this. We need to do something about it. The federal government needs to do something about it. Nigerian Labour Congress needs to do something about this. The Trade Union Congress needs to do something about this. Nigerians are suffering in their own country. This is not done anywhere else in the world. Now you have a lot of Chinese companies who do the same thing in Nigeria. Something that is not acceptable, cannot work in China, they do it here in Nigeria, and they go scot-free because the system allows it. So we're calling on the NUC, the TLC, the TUC, Ministry of Labour and Productivity, government agencies to look into this. Please, Nigerians are suffering. And please don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel. Follow me on TikTok, Instagram, and Facebook. And we'll do follow up on this, and then we get to talk more about these issues as they happen in Nigeria. Thank you for watching.